Enough! These Earthlings, or whatever, have flagrantly disrespected galactic law. By what means? In the sterile halls of the Galactic Administration Complex, nestled within the bloated, bureaucratic heart of the Andromedan Confederacy, history was quietly being doomed by paperwork. "Next!" screeched Secretary Snurl, his voice cracking. Under the weight of infinite administrative despair, he peered down from a towering podium made entirely of laminated protocol manuals. Snurl, a slender alien whose entire physiology suggested perpetual discomfort, gently adjusted his optic monocle. As he scrutinized the next matter on the docket, Species Obliteration Request Form 17BX, submitted by Admiral Ffrunkil. Snurl squinted at the name, his nostrils contracting with bureaucratic disgust. "Is Admiral Ffrunkil present?" A gentle squelching sound echoed through the chamber. From behind a forest of moss-covered chairs emerged Admiral Ffrunkil, his tentacles flopping nervously. His uniform, festooned with pompous medals and yet oddly lacking any legitimate battle honors, reeked of accidental authority. "Yes, Secretary," Ffrunkil warbled, managing a sloppy salute that dripped greenish mucus onto the polished floor. Snurl shuddered visibly. "Admiral, you wish authorization for an obliteration campaign. Planet—" He thumbed through dense paperwork, his pale forehead creased with irritation. "Erth. You request deployment of an entire class fleet armada, justification being irreparable diplomatic insult to the Confederacy. Do you have supplementary paperwork, particularly your detailed grievance declaration form?" Admiral Ffrunkil glanced back at his junior officer, Specialist Klump, whose bulbous forehead was sweating so profusely it seemed near explosion. Klump scrambled through a binder of confusingly arranged documents, finally clutching one damp page. "Sir, right here, Form 992K, filled out in quadruplicate except—" Klump paused, gulping, eyes bulging slightly more than usual. "I think I might have misspelled." "Enough, Specialist," Ffrunkil hissed. "We have a clear grievance. These Earthlings, or whatever, have flagrantly disrespected galactic law." "By what means?" Snurl demanded, pencil quivering dangerously close to unauthorized moistening. "They, well, insulted our diplomatic dignity with a transmission," Ffrunkil explained, "a broadcast saturated with mockery and threats." "Evidence?" Snurl sneered. Ffrunkil signaled desperately. Klump punched a button, and suddenly the council chamber was filled with the crackling, distorted recording. From invisible speakers erupted chaotic sounds. "We come in peace. Pafte. No, seriously, guys. Ha 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 ha." The transmission deteriorated into hysterical giggles, punctuated by random kazoo noises and something that sounded suspiciously like a feline distress call. The aliens watched in bewilderment. Secretary Snurl's face turned pale. "What is this?" Admiral Ffrunkil's tentacles curled in rage. "They mock us openly, our honorable overtures treated with juvenile contempt, kazoo music, sarcasm, animals in clear agony, our Confederacy's pride demands retaliation." Snurl inhaled deeply. "Bureaucratic justice, his greatest love," whispered seductively in his ear. "Forms in triplicate approved." His soul fluttered briefly. "Request approved!" Snurl shrieked triumphantly, slamming his stamp down with uncharacteristic vigor. "Fleet authorized for immediate deployment. You may proceed, Admiral. Obliterate. Erth, show them consequences of bureaucratic disrespect." As the Admiral and Specialist Klump shuffled from the chamber, no one noticed the small clerical error made at Galactic Central Command. Nobody double-checked the coordinates or the planet's spelling. And certainly nobody thought to verify exactly which insignificant blue planet in an insignificant spiral arm was actually being targeted. Nobody realized they meant Earth. Meanwhile, On Earth, an entirely separate planet from the one Admiral Ffrunkil's paperwork mentioned, Brenda from Nebraska was enjoying a particularly uneventful afternoon. Armed with a camcorder and fortified by the steady conviction that absolutely nothing exciting would ever happen in her lifetime, Brenda sat on her porch sipping iced tea, recording absolutely nothing of significance. Her sleepy Nebraska town had no idea their peaceful skies were minutes away from hosting a galactic invasion. Specialist Klump anxiously watched the swirling hyperspace ahead, where hundreds of warships gleamed with terrible bureaucratic purpose. Each vessel bristled with enough firepower to annihilate a planet many times over. Klump's bulbous head, typically filled with anxiety and regret, was particularly throbbing today. "Admiral," Klump whimpered nervously, "what if we made a mistake? Perhaps I should verify the planet." "Nonsense," Admiral Ffrunkil snapped, straightening his moss-adorned uniform. "The Confederacy does not make mistakes. We are infallible." "But, sir, the name Erth—" "Merely trivialities specialist," Ffrunkil declared grandly. "Our records state clearly that these beings defied us openly. Our armada is unstoppable. I will personally command the vanguard ship. Glory shall be ours." Klump nodded meekly, resigned to his fate. Internally, he wondered whether his career would ever recover from authorizing the invasion of the wrong planet. At Galactic Observation Post 117, Rick the Dust Cloud slept peacefully. Rick was legendary among cosmic intelligences, ancient, ineffable, infinitely wise and perpetually sleepy. He drifted serenely through interstellar gas fields, gently snoring cosmic wisdoms forgotten before they were ever spoken. The armada of bureaucratic vengeance sailed obliviously past Rick, entirely unnoticed. Rick wheezed faintly in his sleep. A nearby asteroid wondered if the great dust cloud might have whispered an omen. Then it remembered it was only an asteroid, and asteroids were notoriously bad at interpreting subtle hints from wise cosmic entities. The alien fleet punched out of hyperspace directly into Earth's orbit, hung there glittering ominously, radiating bureaucratic disdain. Every ship broadcast simultaneously in 1,000 galactic tongues. "Attention, primitive inhabitants of planet Earth. Your insolence has brought annihilation. Prepare for immediate extermination." Unfortunately for the Confederacy, Earth's inhabitants had never heard of Earth. Instead, billions of humans stared upward, slack-jawed, smartphones instantly raised. The ships lingered menacingly, expecting terrified surrender. Instead, the aliens watched incredulously as Earth's collective consciousness responded via the internet at light speed. Within minutes, a deluge of digital insanity flooded the fleet's communication channels, memes, GIFs, photos of confused cats, videos of screaming goats, and conspiracy podcasts loudly speculating the invasion was a hoax perpetrated by the government. Chaos ensued aboard the flagship. "Admiral," Klump cried, eyes dilating wildly. "Our comm systems, they're overwhelmed. These primitives are broadcasting billions of nonsense transmissions simultaneously. Our translators can't handle the sheer stupidity." Admiral Ffrunkil stared, eyes glazed with dawning horror. He saw flashes of kittens, humans dancing oddly, and grotesque, terrifying images labeled minions. "What devilry have we awakened?" he murmured. "It's worse," Specialist Klump whispered, fingers trembling. "They've sent us a mixtape." A cacophony blared into the bridge, a terrifying, soul-shattering blend of kazoo covers, 1980s pop music and ear-bleeding remixes of incomprehensible slang phrases. Admiral Ffrunkil clutched at his uniform, tentacles spasming. "What Is this madness? The specialist could only wail, clutching his head in agony. Earth, Admiral! This is Earth! And thus began the most disastrous invasion in galactic history against the single most irrational, unpredictable, utterly absurd species the universe had ever spawned. Far below, Brenda calmly aimed her camcorder skyward, thoughtfully sipping iced tea. Well, she mused quietly, guess it's going to be one heck of an afternoon. Chaos reigned aboard Admiral Ffrunkil's flagship. Bright red emergency lights flashed wildly, reflecting off sleek, polished walls designed for calm professionalism rather than existential panic. A dozen junior officers dashed around, tentacles flailing and eyes bulging in disbelief at screens flooded with digital absurdity. Specialist Klump stared blankly into the swirling horror that was Earth's endless stream of cultural refuse. Cat memes morphing into incomprehensible parodies. Dancing humans looping endlessly in hypnotic stupidity, and worst of all, strange yellow creatures babbling nonsensically and yet irresistibly. His bulbous head vibrated painfully with every repeated banana chant from these oddly threatening creatures known as minions. Admiral, Klump whimpered, clutching a console with sticky palms. Communications are entirely compromised. Our translators are overheating just trying to comprehend their language, or whatever this is. Ffrunkil leaned heavily against a bulkhead, tentacles limp in existential defeat. This was supposed to be his moment of triumph, a glorious conquest of a primitive world. Instead, he faced a barrage of confusion. Is there nothing rational about these beings? He murmured softly, eyes distant with trauma from the mixtape still blasting through hidden speakers. No, Admiral, Klump answered solemnly. We've thoroughly analyzed their broadcasts. Rationality was lost generations ago, perhaps longer. They appear to worship absurdity. Our translators suggest something called internet culture. It's a psychological weapon so chaotic that it seems deliberately designed to break sanity. Ffrunkil felt something deep inside break, a fragile piece of his bureaucratic heart shattering irreparably. What can we do? Klump looked away, uncertain. We could retreat, sir? Ffrunkil stiffened immediately. Retreat would mean shame. And shame meant paperwork. Endless, soul-destroying paperwork. No. They had to press on. Specialist Klump, deploy probes to the surface immediately. Find something, anything that makes sense. We will not retreat until we achieve at least one comprehensible victory. Klump nodded weakly and transmitted the orders. Down below, humanity had rapidly gone from terror to curiosity, to delight in mere minutes. Brenda from Nebraska had already gathered a sizable crowd around her porch, people drinking iced tea, waving at the alien ships, and cheerfully filming themselves narrating their newfound viral stardom. This'll be bigger than that Y2K thing, Brenda explained knowingly to the crowd, filming herself calmly, or at least that thing where folks ate laundry soap. As if on cue, bright streaks blazed through the Nebraska sky, landing nearby with gentle puffs of dust. Brenda watched with mild interest as small metallic orbs unfolded themselves dramatically, tiny robotic arms extending with careful deliberation. The crowd watched silently, phones recording everything. Then Brenda waved cheerily. "Welcome to Nebraska, y'all." The robots paused awkwardly. After a few confused beeps, they cautiously scanned Brenda. She smiled broadly, camera steady in hand, Midwestern hospitality radiating intensely. "Can we offer you something? Tea? Pie?" The robots hesitated. Hospitality protocols had not been anticipated by their programmers, who assumed most invasions involved screaming or at least moderate panic. Brenda's overwhelming politeness froze their logic circuits. Slowly, the lead robot beeped hesitantly and extended a mechanical arm in a confused approximation of a greeting. Brenda gently shook it, thoroughly delighted. Well, isn't that nice? Wait till Facebook hears about this. The robots, utterly disarmed, stood silently as humanity's first diplomatic triumph over a galactic invasion was swiftly uploaded to every social media platform on Earth. Back on the flagship, Specialist. Klump turned from his screen in horror. "Admiral, the surface probes have been neutralized." Ffrunkil's eyes widened in shock. "How? Are they military forces?" "No, sir. Civilians. One of them has offered the probe tea. Another provided a knitted covering, calling it a cozy. They're currently taking photographs and attempting to befriend it." Ffrunkil staggered backward, tentacles quivering. "Befriend it? Have they no fear?" "None whatsoever," Klump reported miserably. "Their response seems uniformly delighted." The Admiral fell heavily into his command chair, head spinning. This defied every rule of invasion protocol. He thought back to Galactic Academy, where war was a neatly organized affair. Enemy fleets exchanging salvos, negotiations carefully scripted, conquered peoples respectfully subdued. But Earth fought back with incomprehensible hospitality and spontaneous friendship. "Perhaps," Ffrunkil whispered fearfully, "we underestimated their psychological warfare capabilities." Klump nodded. "Or overestimated our capacity to withstand madness, Admiral." A long silence stretched between them. Finally, Ffrunkil rose with forced dignity. "If their civilians resist through absurdity, perhaps their leaders will show reason. Contact their highest authority immediately." "Yes, Admiral," Klump answered, relieved to have orders. In a small flat in East London, a parrot named Keith received a transmission he certainly had not expected. Keith, known widely online as Keith the Galactic Ambassador, a joke name given by his eccentric owner, retired Professor Dr. Archibald Featherstone, was famous for his uncanny sarcasm, biting wit, and a vaguely threatening British accent. Unbeknownst to the alien fleet, their desperate attempts to reach Earth's highest authority had landed on Keith's popular live-stream channel. "Attention, leader of Erth," Admiral Ffrunkil began solemnly, his image flickering across Keith's stream. "We seek negotiations. Cease your psychological attacks at once." Keith tilted his head sharply, eyes narrowing. Thousands watched breathlessly online. "Negotiations, is it?" Keith replied dryly, fluffing feathers dramatically. "Bit rich after barging in uninvited, old chum." Ffrunkil stared, bewildered. "Ah, you mocking me?" Keith leaned forward menacingly. "Never, Admiral Squidface. I'd never mock someone who's clearly lost a battle of wits to a planet that enjoys filming cats falling off tables." Ffrunkil's tentacles tightened defensively. "We are a proud fleet of the Confederacy. We demand dignity." Keith clicked his beak, unimpressed. "Dignity? Bit late for that. You've invaded Earth. Might as well demand sanity from politicians." Klump leaned into view, confused. "Are you the ruler of Earth?" Keith's eyes sparkled mischievously. "Naturally, Supreme Overlord Keith at your service. Would you care for surrender terms now or later?" Ffrunkil glanced nervously at Klump, uncertain. We do not surrender," Keith squawked loudly, delightedly sarcastic. "Oh, splendid. I'll inform the meme brigade. I'm sure humanity will treat you as fairly as it treats itself." The aliens exchanged a glance, neither understanding nor liking that implication. Keith leaned closer to the camera. "One more thing. Your invasion's gone viral. Best prepare yourselves for endless comment sections." The transmission ended abruptly. Klump looked to his superior officer, pale and trembling. "Admiral, what is a comment section?" "I don't know," Ffrunkil answered grimly, "but I fear we have awakened a monster." As the alien fleet hovered in confused orbit, humanity's reaction evolved quickly. Reality shows began announcing casting calls for Alien Invasion special editions. Entrepreneurs hastily printed T-shirts bearing messages like, "I survived the alien apocalypse, and all I got was this lousy meme." Conspiracy podcasts triumphantly claim to have predicted the aliens years ago, quickly blaming everything from fluoride in water to shadowy secret societies. Meanwhile, intern Flingborg, aboard the alien mothership's communications hub, quietly scrolled through intercepted Earth transmissions. He'd grown disillusioned after years fetching caffeinated beverages for superior officers who barely acknowledged his existence. But today, he encountered something truly profound, an email from Earth's spam filter labeled innocuously, "Unlock your true potential." Flingborg hesitated only a moment before opening it. He read hastily written, grammatically disastrous phrases promising self-realization, confidence, and career advancement through positive affirmations and assertiveness. Something within Flingborg stirred, a revolutionary spark kindled by an Earthling's spam email. He glanced at the coffee mugs stacked around his station, each emblazoned ironically with the phrase, "World's Best Intern." A sudden, powerful surge of clarity overwhelmed him. "Today," Flingborg whispered defiantly, gripping his coffee mug, "I become the hero of my own narrative." With calm precision, intern Flingborg stood, armed with purpose, caffeine, and a plan born from Earth's boundless absurdity. Admiral Ffrunkil had faced battles before, countless carefully choreographed conflicts studied meticulously in military academy simulations, but nothing had prepared him for the infinite madness now pouring from the blue planet below. Earth's collective assault was relentless, weaponizing stupidity, confusion, and an utter disregard for logic. The alien fleet teetered dangerously close to psychological collapse. Aboard the flagship, Specialist Klump monitored Earth signals, desperately seeking any rational strategy amid the chaotic transmissions. Screens flickered wildly, flooded by endless streams of memes, TikTok dance trends, cooking tutorials inexplicably featuring mayonnaise, and videos simply labeled "reaction," featuring humans screaming at nothing. Klump's bulbous head throbbed as he attempted to decode meaning from madness. "Admiral," Klump stammered, tentacles twitching anxiously. "Our analysis has confirmed it. Earth isn't deploying weapons, it's deploying culture, and somehow their nonsensical broadcasts are unraveling our fleet's sanity." Admiral Ffrunkil sat heavily in his command chair, uniform wilted, medals askew, eyes hollow. "Then our options?" Klump hesitated. "We could attempt cultural retaliation, perhaps broadcast our civilization's greatest achievements, art, poetry." "No!" Ffrunkil interrupted sharply, tentacles curling tightly. "I will not lower the Confederacy's dignity by engaging in meme warfare." Klump glanced nervously at the Admiral. But sir, we're losing." A heavy silence settled over the bridge. Suddenly, the emergency intercom blared urgently. "Attention, fleet," crackled a voice unfamiliar to Ffrunkil. "This is intern Flingborg. I'm taking command. All crew, stand by for new instructions." Ffrunkil bolted upright. "Who authorized—" "Sorry, Admiral," Flingborg replied calmly, his voice cheerful and disturbingly confident. "I authorized myself, learned it from an Earth email. Now please sit quietly while I stage my coup. It'll only take a minute." Ffrunkil sputtered helplessly as Klump quickly isolated the source of the transmission. "Admiral, Flingborg is in communications. He's broadcasting fleet-wide." "Stop him!" Ffrunkil demanded, voice cracking. Klump tried frantically, but too late. Across the fleet, crew members, burned out from endless bureaucracy and pointless duties, paused, listening attentively as intern Flingborg spoke with astonishing clarity. "My friends, my colleagues, coffee fetchers, report writers, and endlessly tormented junior officers, I know your pain. How often have you been humiliated, overlooked, trapped by procedure? Isn't it time we found purpose? These earthlings, they have something remarkable. They call it motivation. It comes in tiny emails filled with bad grammar and powerful truths. We deserve respect. We deserve purpose. Ffrunkil gasped, eyes wide with horror. He's infecting them with optimism. Across the fleet, hundreds of junior officers listened, hearts swelling at the unfamiliar thrill of hope. Flingborg's voice rose triumphantly. Join me, friends. Throw off your chains of bureaucratic despair. Together we'll embrace purpose, coffee, and this magical thing humans call work-life balance. There was a moment of silence. Then cheers erupted throughout every ship. Ffrunkil turned slowly, feeling utter betrayal from his crew. Klump, however, was quietly nodding, tears glistening in his large eyes. "Specialist?" Ffrunkil asked softly. Klump stood proudly. "I'm sorry, Admiral, but I too have read the Erth. Emails, I resign." Klump placed his headset gently on the console, saluted respectfully, and left the bridge, humming a tune about believing in oneself. Admiral Ffrunkil stood alone, heartbroken by the most unlikely mutiny in galactic history. Meanwhile, in Nebraska, Brenda's porch had become Earth's informal diplomatic headquarters. News crews flocked there, cameras rolling as Brenda poured iced tea for visiting dignitaries from neighboring states and at least one confused-looking Canadian who'd wandered in by accident. "Brenda, how does it feel negotiating Earth's first alien peace treaty?" a reporter asked earnestly. "Well," Brenda replied cheerfully, "I figure politeness gets you farther than lasers, and if not, there's always pie." The reporters laughed, and Brenda turned back toward the alien probe, now affectionately named Buddy, still swaddled in a knitted cozy. It beeped contentedly, surrounded by smiling neighbors taking selfies. Brenda leaned in, whispering conspiratorially, "You know, if y'all need anything else, just beep twice. Folks here'll take good care of you." Buddy beeped twice softly, sending a friendly signal back to the mothership, prompting a fresh wave of confusion among the alien high command, who now wondered why their probes seemed more loyal to Nebraska than their own fleet. Far away, aboard, Galactic Observation Post 117, Rick the Dust Cloud finally stirred awake. His gentle snores ceased, replaced by a soft, wheezing sound. Rick had sensed cosmic disturbances before, but this was different, more absurd. Rick lazily stretched his incorporeal form, scattering stardust gently. Nearby asteroids felt honored just to witness his awakening. The dust cloud, wise beyond measure, had slept through millennia, aware of all galactic secrets, yet only vaguely concerned with existence. Now, though, he was curious. Something important and deeply, fundamentally silly had happened while he slept. With a gentle wheeze, Rick drifted toward Earth, determined to witness whatever cosmic event had disturbed his eternal nap. In London, Keith the Parrot's live stream had gone viral. Already famous, Keith now enjoyed true global celebrity. Admirers flooded the comment section, delighted by his biting sarcasm and British disdain. Merch sales exploded. T-shirts proudly bearing Keith's phrase, "Negotiations, old chum," became bestsellers within hours, but Keith himself remained aloof, feathers impeccably groomed, staring thoughtfully at the alien ships visible on a small laptop screen. Beside him, Dr. Archibald Featherstone, a retired professor of history with a particular fondness for antique weaponry, polished an ancient Wo-2 rifle thoughtfully. "Well done, Keith," Archibald praised warmly. "I do believe you've thoroughly intimidated them." Keith tilted his head. "Honestly, Archibald, it's not hard. These squid people panic faster than pigeons." Archibald chuckled. "True, but I fear negotiations may get difficult. Bureaucrats, you know. Keith preened, unconcerned. Then we'll send Brenda. I trust a Midwestern grandmother armed with pie more than I trust any politician. Archibald raised an eyebrow thoughtfully. You might be onto something. Keith clicked his beak softly. Always am, old chap. High above, intern Flingborg, newly declared fleet admiral by enthusiastic supporters, reviewed messages pouring from across the ships. Officers, technicians, and junior crew shared emotional stories, declaring renewed purpose and gratitude. Flingborg's heart swelled. An aide approached nervously. Admiral Flingborg, we've lost communications with Admiral Ffrunkil. Flingborg sighed gently, sipping coffee from his world's best intern mug. Poor Ffrunkil, trapped by old bureaucracy. But we'll rescue him. After all, no intern gets left behind. Sir, the aide asked carefully, should we contact Erth now? Flingborg nodded confidently. Prepare a message. Tell them we're ready for peace. Ask for their best negotiator. The aide nodded, saluting enthusiastically. Right away, sir. Back in Nebraska, Brenda's phone buzzed unexpectedly. She glanced at it casually, smiling as she read aloud. Attention, Erth diplomat Brenda. Please proceed to negotiations. Sincerely, Admiral Flingborg. Neighbors cheered excitedly. Brenda waved modestly, adjusting her apron. Well, guess. Duty calls. Her neighbors gathered, offering encouragement and last-minute advice about intergalactic etiquette. Buddy beeped softly, reassuringly at Brenda, who patted it fondly. Wish me luck, Buddy. She stepped forward, smiling calmly. Toward the news cameras. Well, folks, Brenda declared warmly, looks like it's tea and pie diplomacy, round 2. And as humanity celebrated Brenda's diplomatic mission, no one realized that Admiral Ffrunkil, abandoned by his fleet and haunted by Earth's madness, had quietly stolen a shuttle and plotted a desperate last-ditch attack. One final, irrational act of bureaucratic revenge. Aboard his commandeered shuttle, Admiral Ffrunkil stared grimly at the Earth below, tentacles gripping the controls in a rigid embrace of fury and humiliation. He'd lost everything, his crew, his dignity, his cherished bureaucratic status, all thanks to the absurdity radiating from this insignificant blue speck of cosmic irreverence. No longer bound by rules, protocol, or rational thought, Ffrunkil had but one mission: revenge. He would strike directly at the heart of Earth's leadership, whatever that was, and restore his shattered honor. Computer, Ffrunkil commanded, voice trembling with desperation. Locate Earth's central authority. The shuttle's computer hesitated slightly, its processors burdened by terabytes of Earth's digital chaos. Eventually it spoke cautiously. Unable to locate central authority. Multiple contradictory entities claiming dominance. Ffrunkil's eyes narrowed. Identify strongest broadcast signals. Take me there. Calculating, the computer replied calmly. Target selected, London, Erth. Signal identified as Supreme Leader Keith. Ffrunkil shuddered. Keith, that mocking feathered beast whose biting sarcasm had shattered his fleet's morale. It was only fitting. He'd destroy the leader and end Earth's reign of cultural terror. Set course immediately, Ffrunkil hissed. The shuttle pivoted gracefully, plunging toward Earth like a dagger aimed at the heart of chaos. In London, Keith the Parrots. Fame had escalated beyond reason. Admirers gathered outside his modest apartment, chanting his phrases, wearing merchandise bearing his cynical visage. Inside, Dr. Archibald Featherstone gazed out the window, bemused yet concerned. Keith. Old. Chap, we might have started something bigger than anticipated. Keith preened dismissively. Humanity always finds something silly to rally behind. Today it's parrots. Tomorrow it'll be llamas in hats. Archibald chuckled softly. Quite so. Still, perhaps caution. A sudden explosion rattled the apartment, shattering windows and scattering feathers. Archibald grabbed his antique rifle instinctively, gripping it with practiced ease. Keith flapped indignantly. "What in blazes?" Archibald shouted, looking up through smoke to see a small alien shuttle embedded in the roof. From the smoking wreckage emerged Admiral Ffrunkil, uniform torn, eyes wild, tentacles twitching menacingly. He held a plasma pistol aimed shakily at Keith. "You!" Ffrunkil roared furiously, voice trembling. "Supreme Leader Keith, you have humiliated me for the last time." Keith eyed the alien warily, feathers ruffled. "You know, dropping by, unannounced is terribly impolite." "Silence!" Ffrunkil snapped. "You destroyed my fleet, my life, with your cursed sarcasm. Now you'll pay." Keith clicked his beak calmly. "Bit dramatic, aren't we?" Archibald raised his rifle cautiously. "Admiral, perhaps we can discuss—" "Discuss!" Ffrunkil shrieked, swinging wildly. "All my life was discussions, forms, paperwork, no more!" Keith tilted his head thoughtfully. "You know, you're quite relatable when angry. Maybe you're not entirely hopeless." Ffrunkil froze, confused. "Relatable? You mock me again?" "No," Keith replied earnestly. "I'm serious. You're finally showing personality beyond bureaucracy." Ffrunkil's pistol wavered uncertainly. "Personality!" Archibald seized the opening, stepping forward gently. "Admiral, forgive. Keith's sarcasm. Perhaps he's right. You've lost everything, but now you're free from that terrible system." Ffrunkil's eyes darted between Archibald and Keith, uncertain. His grip loosened slightly. "Free? I have nothing now." "Exactly," Archibald continued carefully. "You're free to reinvent yourself. Humanity does it all the time." Keith nodded sagely. "Look at humans. Endless reinvention. You think anyone here knows what they're doing? Absolutely not. Yet they thrive on madness. You can too." Ffrunkil's tentacles drooped, the pistol lowering slowly. "But how?" Keith hopped closer, feathers gently ruffled. "Easy. Embrace chaos, become a meme, start a podcast, write bad poetry, whatever feels absurdly right." Archibald smiled warmly. "Precisely. We humans excel at finding meaning in absurdity. It's our greatest strength." Ffrunkil's weapon clattered to the floor. He fell heavily onto a sofa, utterly drained. "Meaning, in absurdity?" Keith chuckled softly. "Welcome to Earth." High above, aboard the alien mothership, Admiral Ffrunkil sat confidently in the command chair, sipping coffee and surveying his newly motivated crew. Inspired by Earth's messages of positivity, productivity aboard the fleet had surged. Departments streamlined procedures, morale soared, and for the first time, junior officers smiled genuinely. Specialist Klump approached respectfully. "Admiral Ffrunkil, Earth has responded to your request for diplomatic negotiation." Ffrunkil leaned forward eagerly. "Wonderful. Who will represent them?" Klump hesitated, checking his screen nervously. "They've chosen a civilian ambassador named Brenda." Ffrunkil smiled warmly. "Perfect. Brenda is exactly who we need. Humans are wise beyond logic." Klump nodded slowly. "Indeed, she's bringing pie. Is that some kind of symbolic gesture?" "I assume," Ffrunkil mused seriously, "it's a ceremonial dish of peace." Klump nodded reverently. "Remarkable." In Nebraska, Brenda stepped confidently onto the alien landing pad, holding 2 freshly baked apple pies. Cameras flashed, capturing humanity's greatest diplomatic moment as Brenda warmly greeted the alien delegation. "Admiral Ffrunkil, Specialist Klump," Brenda said kindly. "Welcome to Earth." Ffrunkil approached, visibly nervous, yet deeply moved. "Brenda, your species is astonishing. You've defeated us without firing a single shot. Only kindness and chaos." Brenda smiled gently. Well, Admiral, sometimes chaos makes better friends than enemies. Now try some pie. Flingborg cautiously tasted the pie, eyes widening in delight. Incredible! Humanity has truly mastered culture. Brenda chuckled modestly. It's mostly sugar, Admiral. Sugar, Klump whispered reverently. So powerful. Brenda turned warmly toward the waiting crowds. Friends, neighbors, alien guests, today we embrace peace, absurdity, and the universal truth. Pie brings folks together. Cheers erupted. Cameras broadcast worldwide as Earth celebrated victory, not through weapons, but simple hospitality. Floating high above the celebration, Rick the dust cloud finally arrived, gently wheezing with curiosity. Earth's broadcasts reached him, fascinatingly silly yet oddly profound. The wise cosmic entity drifted slowly downward, observing humans and aliens mingling joyously below. Rick softly murmured in cosmic tones, unheard yet felt deeply by everyone present. Absurdity. Kindness, chaos. This is the way of the universe. For a fleeting moment, Brenda, Flingborg, Keith, Archibald, and even Ffrunkil looked skyward simultaneously, feeling inexplicably reassured. Months later, Earth's absurd influence spread rapidly across the Andromedan Confederacy. Alien species eagerly consumed Earth's cultural exports, memes, cat videos, reality TV, podcasts filled with conspiracies and laughter. Bureaucracies toppled overnight, replaced by joyful, enthusiastic chaos. Admiral Flingborg, now universally respected, guided his species with purpose and caffeinated optimism. Specialist Klump, liberated from anxiety, wrote best-selling poetry, inspired by human silliness. Admiral Ffrunkil, reinvented as a motivational speaker, toured galaxies passionately advocating absurdity and spontaneity. Brenda became humanity's official ambassador, warmly welcomed on every world. Keith the Parrot remained Earth's sarcastic voice of wisdom, broadcasting endless commentary adored across the cosmos. And deep in space, Rick the Dust Cloud resumed his eternal nap, gently wheezing wisdom occasionally heeded by passing asteroids. As for Earth, it flourished, joyously absurd, proudly chaotic, because humanity knew one great truth. They were never the galaxy's victims. They were always its final boss. In the grand auditorium aboard the mothership, once a sterile shrine to bureaucratic drudgery, and now converted into an arena celebrating newfound absurdity, Admiral Ffrunkil stood backstage, nervously clutching notes. Thousands had gathered from across the Andromedan Confederacy, eager to hear the once stiff bureaucrat who'd become an unlikely galactic motivational icon. I don't know if I can do this, Ffrunkil whispered, tentacles trembling anxiously. Keith the Parrot, perched comfortably on Brenda's shoulder, eyed him critically. Nonsense, old chum, Keith clicked reassuringly. Public humiliation is a vital human tradition. Embrace the fear. It builds character. Brenda chuckled softly, placing a comforting hand on Ffrunkil's shoulder. Keith's right, Admiral. You've inspired billions. Everyone's rooting for you. Ffrunkil glanced nervously around the backstage area. Admiral Flingborg offered an enthusiastic thumbs up. Specialist Klump gently dabbed tears of pride from bulbous eyes, and even Secretary Snurl, reluctantly, attending to manage logistics, gave a stiff but supportive nod. Drawing courage from friends, Ffrunkil straightened his moss-adorned uniform, took a deep breath, and stepped forward onto the brightly lit stage. The audience erupted in deafening applause, countless species united in admiration and excitement. Ffrunkil looked out at a sea of diverse faces, tentacles, wings, antennae, each face smiling, eager, inspired by humanity's unique chaos. He glanced at his notes briefly, then decisively discarded them, speaking from the heart. Friends of the galaxy, he began, voice firm, eyes sincere. Not long ago I arrived at Earth believing it weak, primitive, foolish. I thought we would easily conquer it, subjugating humans with simple bureaucratic force, but I was wrong, very wrong. The crowd hushed, intrigued. Ffrunkil continued, Earth did not fight back with weapons. No, Earth fought back with chaos, absurdity, memes, music, and pie. Humanity taught me a lesson more powerful than any military academy ever could. He paused, voice growing passionate. They taught me that life isn't measured by rules or logic. Life is messy, beautiful chaos. The humans live fully because they embrace their absurdities. They fail constantly, ridiculously, but they fail upward. They evolve through laughter, through madness. Cheers erupted passionately from the audience. Ffrunkil, gaining momentum, raised his voice confidently. Today, friends, we discard our bureaucracy and embrace humanity's madness. Let us not fear absurdity. Let's celebrate it, for in chaos lies freedom. Applause thundered wildly, creatures roaring approval. Admiral Ffrunkil wiped tears of pride. Klump sobbed joyfully, and even Secretary Snurl reluctantly smiled, softly clapping with precise decorum. Keith leaned toward Brenda. Quite the turnaround for our squid-faced friend, Brenda beamed. He's finally found purpose. Meanwhile, Rick the dust cloud floated lazily through the ship's observation deck, gently humming cosmic melodies. Nearby interns paused in awe, feeling profound calm in his ancient presence. Rick's wheezing had become legendary, a symbol of gentle wisdom guiding the galaxy toward acceptance of absurdity. Rick wheezed softly, radiating quiet satisfaction. The galaxy had found harmony, and Rick, relieved of cosmic stress, drifted toward another millennium of restful slumber. In Nebraska, Brenda's porch became an international pilgrimage site. Alien visitors regularly dropped by, tasting homemade pie, sharing stories, and snapping selfies. Brenda hosted alien tourists and ambassadors alike with unwavering warmth, Midwestern confidence radiating globally. One afternoon, as Brenda poured iced tea for guests from a distant star system, Admiral Ffrunkil arrived unannounced, carrying a familiar small robot wrapped lovingly in knitted fabric. Brenda, Ffrunkil smiled warmly. Buddy wanted to visit. Buddy beeped happily, gently nuzzling Brenda's hand. Brenda chuckled delightedly. "Oh, Buddy, welcome home. You know there's always pie for you here." Buddy beeped enthusiastically, sending joyful signals fleet-wide. Ffrunkil glanced at Brenda warmly. "Humanity changed everything. You showed us another path." Brenda smiled gently. "We just reminded you how to have fun. Life's too short for seriousness all the time." Ffrunkil nodded seriously. "Exactly, and it worked." Brenda raised a glass cheerfully. "To absurdity." Ffrunkil raised his coffee mug happily. "To absurdity." Visitors toasted enthusiastically, laughter ringing joyfully across Brenda's porch, symbolizing humanity's final victory. Peace won, not through weapons, but kindness and hospitality. Back in London, Keith the Parrot and Dr. Archibald Featherstone had settled into comfortable notoriety. Keith's livestream continued daily, audiences across galaxies tuning in eagerly for his dry wit, blistering sarcasm, and oddly comforting disdain. "Keith, old friend," Archibald remarked warmly one afternoon, polishing his antique rifle. "It's astonishing, really. Who'd have thought Earth's final line of defense would be a sarcastic parrot?" Keith preened gently. "Frankly, Archibald, I've always believed sarcasm is humanity's greatest evolutionary achievement, second only to Yorkshire pudding, of course." Archibald chuckled softly. "Naturally." Keith tilted his head thoughtfully. "Funny thing about humanity, really. Utterly ridiculous species, yet undeniably brilliant in your own chaotic way." Archibald smiled warmly. That might be the best compliment you've ever given. Keith ruffled feathers lightly. Don't get used to it. Now pour me some tea. Archibald laughed gently, pouring tea, grateful for Earth's newfound place as a beloved cosmic oddity. Months turned to years, and humanity's absurdity rippled outward, reshaping countless civilizations across galaxies. Alien bureaucracies collapsed into joyful chaos, governments embracing spontaneity and humor. Earth became legendary, the small, chaotic world that defeated conquest through kindness, humor, and pie. Ffrunkil toured galaxies passionately, sharing stories of personal reinvention. Klump published best-selling poetry collections, celebrating Earth's cultural absurdity. Secretary Snurl retired peacefully, embracing gardening, a hobby carefully monitored to avoid unauthorized moistening. Intern Flingborg led galactic innovation, famously motivational and perpetually caffeinated. Brenda remained humanity's beloved diplomat, welcoming countless aliens into her home. Keith continued broadcasting daily sarcastic wisdom, while Archibald catalogued Earth's newfound cosmic influence. Even the retired Galactic Administration Complex became a museum celebrating absurdity, bureaucracy humorously mocked in exhibits, enjoyed by laughing tourists. As for Rick the Dust Cloud, he peacefully drifted through cosmic fields, whispering gentle wisdom remembered by passing asteroids, an eternal symbol of peace through absurdity. Many decades later, Admiral Ffrunkil stood quietly beside Brenda's memorial on a sunny Nebraska hillside, eyes glistening with gratitude. Crowds of aliens, humans, and even robotic companions stood reverently, honoring the humble woman whose kindness changed galaxies. Keith perched solemnly on Archibald's shoulder, feathers gently ruffled. Archibald quietly wiped tears, remembering dear Brenda fondly. Ffrunkil stepped forward, voice soft yet powerful. Brenda showed me kindness when I deserved none. She taught me absurdity's beauty, laughter's strength, pie's universal power. She taught the galaxy humanity's greatest secret. Absurdity binds us, chaos unites us. He placed fresh flowers lovingly on Brenda's monument, whispering reverently, "Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, humanity. You made us all better." Keith clicked softly, eyes moist. "Well said, Admiral. Couldn't have put it better myself." Archibald smiled gently. "She'd have loved that." The crowd stood silently, united in gratitude, inspired forever by humanity's astonishing victory. Peace achieved through kindness, humor, and absurdity. In that quiet moment, the galaxy's countless species understood humanity's profound truth. Absurdity wasn't humanity's weakness. It was their greatest weapon. And humanity, forever chaotic, absurd, yet strangely wise, proudly embraced its role, not as victims nor as conquerors, but as joyful cosmic friends. Forevermore, Earth stood as the galaxy's beloved absurd heart, forever celebrating chaos, kindness, and laughter. Centuries passed gently across the cosmos, eras rising and fading, stars igniting and quietly dying. Yet humanity's legacy remained etched indelibly into galactic history. Earth itself had transformed, a vibrant hub of culture, absurdity, and joyful chaos. Humans, aliens, sentient robots, and beings once unimaginable gathered on Earth, celebrating life's wonderful absurdities in ways only humanity could inspire. In the great galactic library orbiting Alpha Centauri, generations of scholars gathered, daily beneath domes of crystalline glass, reading histories that chronicled Earth's peculiar and enduring gift to the universe. Laughter, kindness, pie, and utter absurdity. At the library's grand central hall stood an ancient monument lovingly maintained, a humble camcorder, Brenda's original device from Nebraska, now revered as the sacred artifact symbolizing humanity's first peaceful Victory against galactic bureaucracy. Beside it, gently encased in glass, rested Keith's perch, the wise parrot immortalized in legend, whose biting sarcasm once saved Earth. Tourists wandered through the Great Hall, studying exhibits devoted to Earth's legendary heroes. There were sculptures of Brenda handing out pie, Admiral Ffrunkil heroically clutching his coffee mug, Specialist Klump lost in poetic reverie, Admiral Ffrunkil passionately speaking of absurdity, and even Secretary Snurl cautiously gardening. A particularly beloved hologram portrayed Rick the Dust Cloud, gently wheezing timeless wisdom into space. Humans and aliens paused reverently before these artifacts, grateful for a shared history of joyful absurdity that had transformed galactic civilization forever. In an ancient yet cozy home overlooking peaceful Nebraska fields, a curious young human girl named Ellie sat at the feet of her grandmother, listening intently. The grandmother, her eyes twinkling warmly, finished retelling Brenda's famous story. "So you see, Ellie," her grandmother concluded gently, "your great-great-great-grandmother Brenda changed everything, not with weapons, but kindness, tea, and pie." Ellie's eyes widened in awe. Grandma Brenda really made friends with aliens, with pie? Her grandmother smiled lovingly. "Yes, sweetheart, Brenda understood that kindness is the greatest strength, and humor, never underestimate laughter." Ellie nodded thoughtfully. "Then we should always be nice?" Her grandmother chuckled warmly. "Be kind, Ellie, and always remember it's perfectly fine to be silly. Life is wonderful chaos. Brenda taught us that." Ellie giggled happily, snuggling closer. "I like Grandma Brenda." Her grandmother hugged her gently. "Everyone does, Ellie. Everyone." On a distant colony planet bustling with life, Admiral Ffrunkil, aged yet spirited, sat quietly, gazing at the stars. Centuries of joyful exploration and passionate speeches had finally led him here, a peaceful retirement filled with reflective contentment. Beside him, Specialist Klump, his oldest friend, poured tea quietly. "Admiral," Klump asked softly, "do you ever wonder what life would have been if we'd never invaded Earth?" Ffrunkil smiled gently. "Often, my friend. But then I remember, without Earth's absurdity, we'd still be trapped in bureaucratic misery. Humanity saved us. From endless forms." Klump chuckled softly. "Indeed, strange, isn't it? Invading Earth was our greatest mistake and greatest blessing." Ffrunkil nodded warmly. "Life's greatest moments often begin as mistakes." They sat quietly, sipping tea, grateful forever for humanity's profound absurdity, deep within. The galaxy, aboard a small vessel gracefully drifting through stardust fields, Rick the Dust Cloud wheezed softly. He had recently awakened after another millennium of peaceful sleep, gently amused by galactic whispers praising him as a cosmic prophet of wisdom. Nearby, drifting quietly, was Buddy, the small robot from Nebraska, now ancient, yet still lovingly. Wrapped in a faded knitted cozy, after centuries of diplomatic service, Buddy enjoyed gentle retirement, accompanying Rick on cosmic wanderings. Rick wheezed affectionately toward Buddy, ancient cosmic wisdom meeting timeless robotic warmth. Together they floated, contentedly watching galaxies drift by, occasionally reminiscing fondly about Earth, Brenda, Keith, and days long past. Back on Earth, the Galactic Administration Complex, once the oppressive heart of bureaucracy, had become the galaxy's foremost center of joyful absurdity. Visitors from countless worlds flocked daily, laughing delightedly through halls that once symbolized suffocating rules. Exhibits encouraged spontaneous poetry, kazoo orchestras, and hilarious reenactments of bureaucratic meetings long past. Secretary Snurl's garden had become legendary, a sprawling, vibrant oasis filled with carefully tended plants, whimsical sculptures, and meticulously arranged paperwork, artfully displayed beneath protective covers to prevent unauthorized moistening. Scholars debated Snurl's careful arrangement of forms as profound philosophical statements about absurdity and control. Visitors frequently stopped before a statue of intern Flingborg, forever raising his coffee mug defiantly, a symbol of liberation. From drudgery and inspiration for generations. In London, a lively cafe now stood where Keith the Parrot and Dr. Archibald Featherstone had once lived. Named simply Keith's Place, it drew galactic travelers daily, savoring tea, pastries, and delightfully sarcastic robot waiters programmed with Keith's legendary wit. A young human historian carefully placed fresh flowers on a small memorial dedicated to Keith and Archibald, smiling gently. Beside him, an elderly alien tourist nodded respectfully. "Remarkable beings," the alien observed reverently. "Their absurd wisdom truly changed us all." The historian smiled warmly. "Indeed, Keith showed us humor isn't frivolous, it's empowerful. Sarcasm saved Earth." They shared gentle laughter, quietly appreciating humanity's strangest yet greatest gift to the universe. Generations more passed, civilizations rising and evolving, yet humanity's joyful chaos remained eternal, forever reminding countless worlds of absurdity's profound strength. Every year, across galaxies, billions celebrated Humanity Day, a joyful holiday dedicated to humor, kindness, and absurdity. Galactic citizens exchanged gifts of pie, sarcastic cards inspired by Keith's sayings, and coffee mugs bearing Admiral Ffrunkil's famous motivational quotes. Children across worlds reenacted Brenda's famous first encounter, cheerfully offering pie to robotic buddy replicas. Older generations proudly wore shirts printed with Brenda's wisdom. Kindness always wins, especially with pie. And high above, drifting serenely through cosmic fields, Rick the dust cloud and Buddy continued gently watching over galaxies, softly wheezing timeless wisdom into space, eternally satisfied with the joyful chaos humanity had brought. On Earth itself, humanity thrived joyfully absurd, a peaceful beacon of kindness. Humans had become beloved galactic friends, forever admired for transforming conquest into friendship through laughter, absurdity, and simple hospitality. As Earth's sun set gently, casting golden rays across Nebraska's peaceful fields, Ellie, now a respected diplomat herself, stood quietly by Brenda's monument, smiling gently. "Thank you, Grandma Brenda," Ellie whispered lovingly. "You taught us the greatest lesson. Absurdity unites us, and kindness always wins." She placed a fresh pie lovingly beside Brenda's memorial, gently wiping joyful tears. Across galaxies, civilizations remembered forever humanity's profound victory. Peace won through laughter, kindness, absurdity, and pie. Because humans, chaotic and silly, had taught the universe one undeniable truth: absurdity is the most powerful force in existence, and Earth, proud, joyful, absurd, forever remained the galaxy's beloved heart, a reminder that laughter, kindness, and pie could conquer anything, even the stars themselves, because humanity wasn't just unpredictable, it wasn't just absurd, it was beautifully, gloriously, joyfully human.